Welcome to another amazing episode of the Start to Be Great podcast. I'm your co-host, Anna.
And I'm Kimmy. We want you to be great at whatever it is you feel the desire to do, but first you have to start. So you might have noticed we have a different intro and we have a different picture.
Woo!
Why is that?
We just hit our 6-month mark of recording this podcast together.
Yep.
We're halfway through the goal that we set. When we first started talking about doing this, we said neither one of us was going to start unless we committed to at least 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we were going to do after that is we were going to evaluate whether or not we wanted to keep going.
Mm-hmm. And
then it would be like a mutual thing. Like if one of us didn't want to, we just wouldn't. We just let it be like a year of
fuckery.
Yeah, a year of shenanigans, a year of trial and error and learning something new. And we didn't have to keep doing it if it was a burden to either one of us. So I think we're both having a good time so far.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today?
So today we are going to talk about summer.
The season? Or the person? I don't know.
So lately I have been compelled to share a little bit background of the story of how I got custody of my niece. A lot of people don't know that she's my niece. I usually use the word kid to describe her because it seems like a very it's like she belongs to me, but it's not like my daughter, right? It's a very very interesting situation that we have both found ourselves in. And so it's just I've gone through a lot in the last almost 4 years now. So
And does it feel like 4 years?
No, it feels like longer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, and then when I think about it, I'm like, oh my god, it's only been 4 years. Like I feel like she's been a part of my life forever. But yeah, I got custody in 2019. But everyone that worked with me at my hospital in Washington knows of the story and the drama, and I just wanted to share a little bit about it because when we moved here, I talked to her and I said, you can tell people whatever you want and you can make your story about your life whatever it is you want it to be. You don't have to tell strangers the truth. That's your choice. And she calls me Anna, so once people meet us, it's pretty obvious like I'm not her mom. I don't know any other kids that call her when they're that young. As you get older, sure, you can call your parents by their first name, but
my mom would slap me.
I think that's weird too. I never.
Hey, Sandy. What's up? Oh my god.
Yeah. Hello, Mark. Oh, don't call me that. But so, and I've never asked her to call me anything different, but yeah, I've kind of let her lead the way on how we portray our relationship, and I think she's just comfortable letting people know the truth. And so I feel like it's time to I just kind of want to like share it all, like how it happened, and in no way to like talk bad or against anything or anybody, but like just to be open with it.
Yeah.
Just part of processing for me, really.
I love it. So you said 2019 was when this all started?
Yeah, so a little bit of background. I have 2 older sisters, Katie and Jennifer. Jennifer is the oldest. Jennifer is Summer's mom. She's about 6 years older than me. Her birthday is actually the day after mine, by 6 years. It sucked growing up because like when you're the older one, everything that you choose is what happens.
Yeah.
Like, so I was not they called me the spoiled baby, but I was not. I didn't get to celebrate my birthday independently until I was an adult, and I was like, anyway, it's super weird. But we, when I left for the Marine Corps when I was 17, like I didn't stay in touch like super well with my family. My family's very small. We're not super, super close, but I would come home and visit, and I would always see, I have 1 niece and 2 nephews. Katie, the middle child, has 1 son, and then Jennifer has Summer, and then her little brother, Xavier. And so I would see them, but I would just, when I was active duty, and then when I lived in another state. Like I just didn't come home that often. So relationship was there, but it was not the best. If anyone knows me, they know I'm not like a super, like, I don't want to say not sentimental, but I don't always do fancy things on birthdays or holidays. Like I'm not a huge gift giver. I want to do things the way that I want to do them, and I hope to make people feel appreciated in my own way. I don't necessarily like go by those society rules of celebration, you know. So if I don't wish you happy birthday, don't be upset. That's very, very normal. So yeah, it started in 2019. It was June, and I was at the gym, LA Fitness. And my middle sister Katie called me, and she's like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "I'm at the gym. What do you need?" And so I was a full-time X-ray tech at this time, and so normally I worked like combination of like 10s and 12s hour shifts, right? So I had a lot of days off, or at least 3, sometimes 4. And so, you know, it was like 2 in the afternoon and I'm at the gym. So she calls me and she's like, "What are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "I'm working out. What's up?" And she said, "I need you to drive to Kent," which was about, I want to say like 30 minutes from where I was. And she said, "You need to go pick up the car from the impound lot." Now, a little backstory on that. My mom died 2 years prior in 2017. She was 60. And that's actually why I had such a shitty day on Sunday, because that was her birthday. And so when she died, I was her beneficiary because my sisters elected me to be like the person handling all the legal stuff. And so she had a 2012 Toyota Camry with like 40,000 miles on it. I mean, it was like a fairly new car with like, I mean, we could have sold it for however much, but when I first got it, I was like, you know what, my sister Jennifer has 2 kids and she doesn't have a reliable car. So I was like, here, why don't you buy it from me for like $2,000 to make it fair, because I didn't want any kind of resentment between any of us sisters about who got what. I didn't want none of that. And so I was like, we'll do like a pay at your own pace or whatever, and the money was going to go between me and my other sister. And then she gets the car, and we got a little bit of money. And I didn't need it. It was mostly just to keep the peace. And so, but she got this car. So when it got impounded, it was still in my name because she had never paid for it. So I had to legally go pick it up. And I was like, cool. And my other sister said, "Hey, you go get it. I will pay the cost to get it out." And I was like, "Hey, if you're going to pay the $800 to get it out," because that was the towing fee and the impound fee, I was like, "That's on you." I was like, "I'll go grab it." And so that was the day that I learned that my sister, her boyfriend, my niece and nephew were homeless. They were living in a car tent at a KOA. And it broke my heart because I was just like, what the hell? Like, why didn't you tell us? And we weren't very close, so nobody really thought to like ask that question. Like, hey, do you have a place to live? Like, I feel like that would be information you might want to share with your family, just like without needing prompting, but I guess not. You know, she's the oldest sister. She's got the most pride. So, her boyfriend at the time dropped the kids off at school, and on the way back from that, he had got pulled over and he had a warrant out. I don't know what for. My guess is a drug-related charge. And so he went to jail. I think they released him like the next day or something. But that's why the car was impounded. And when I went to pick up the car, there was like the guy at the shop, he he gestured over to me like, "Come here," and he's like, "Just so you know, like, be careful getting in the car, there's something in there." And I was like, oh god, someone was in there. I have no idea what to expect. And I get in the car, and it was like in the center console, there was like a small piece of aluminum foil with like something burnt. So they had smoked something out of it, whoever. And I'm like, how did the cops not see that? Or maybe they did. Maybe that's why he got arrested. I have no idea. Again, there's so much to this story that like there's holes in. But yeah, so that was the day I looked at my sister. I took them to the gas station to get them water and a snack. Because I went and picked up the kids, because the kids were in school, and I picked them up. I remember it was the second to last day of summer school. She was in 7th grade. And actually, no, Xavier was at the campsite, because I remember he was out playing around, and I'm like, I don't know if his school, he's like in elementary school, maybe his school got out sooner or something. Anyway, you know how the last days of school aren't important. They're just fun to see your friends. So I picked Summer up. We get waters, we get snacks, and I asked them, I said, do you guys want to come stay with me for a while? Get a warm meal, a bed, like, just hang out, be with me. And they both were like shaking their head like, yes. So I was like, all right, go tell your mom that you're going to come stay with me, and then we'll get your bag and whatever. And it was crazy because she didn't even talk to me about it. I don't even think another word was spoken between me and her that day. She just brought bags to the car, and I left with her kids. It was crazy. I think she was probably embarrassed. I'm her baby sister, helping her out. But I think that it was. I'm glad that she allowed me to take them, because it was the right thing, because she needed to figure out her stuff. So that's just the first day. Let's see. Summer was 13, which means Xavier was 9 or 8. I can't remember how many years apart they are. I was like, I cannot leave these two home alone when I'm at work for a 12-hour shift. Like, how are they going to feed themselves? Like, I don't know what their skill levels are of like taking care of themselves. So me and my sister worked out. I literally like wrote up a schedule, and because we didn't know how long we were going to have them, but I wrote up a schedule for weeks, and I was like, these are my days off. I was like, I will take them on all of my days off. And I was like driving back and forth. We lived like 20 minutes away from each other, which was convenient, and like so glad for that. So yeah, we just kind of shared temporary custody of them. She was currently living with her boyfriend, and he had 2 kids. So there was already 3 kids in the house. But that meant that they had people to play with, and meals were already getting cooked, and there was toys already there. I had none of that. I'm pretty sure I was eating like chicken and rice at that time, because I had my friend Megan was doing my nutrition for me, and it was just like basic meal prep food. And I was like, oh crap, I gotta cook like mac and cheese.
Chicken nuggets.
Yeah, chicken nuggets, yes, those were had. Lots of sandwiches. Anyway, so we did that till August. Minimal conversations.
So kind of like, what was it, like June to August?
Yeah, the end of June till August, and like late August. And we so weird to think about. We had tried talking to Jennifer and been like, hey, we're helping you out with your kids. Like, what's your plan? How can we help you? Like, what do you need? And, if you weren't privy to this information, or you didn't gather already, like, she was using drugs at this point. Like, that's why she was homeless. And I honestly couldn't tell you what. I know that she smoked weed and did meth when she was 16. And so I'm imagining it trickled to lots of other things as she got older. And she was clean for years. Well, she probably smoked weed, but like she was working. Like she was a medical assistant at an eye doctor's office. So I don't know what happened. She slipped back in, and so all she wanted from us was money. And we were like, listen, first of all, neither one of us are rich. We don't have a lot of money to give you. And Katie just spent $800 getting your car And now I'm feeding 2 extra people for half a month, you know? And it's like, that's not going to help your situation. Like, you need an actual plan. And so we were like, do you want to go to rehab? Like, do you want to, like, help finding you a place that you can stay with a roommate or something? Like, what do you need? And she just wouldn't give us any more information. It was just money, money, money. And if you know anything, if you've ever grown up with, like, people that are abusing drugs or alcohol, you know that that's enabling them to continue on whatever they're doing. So we didn't. And I, told myself, I was like, you know what? I'm doing more than enough already. I'm, like, taking care of your children here. So there was a day in August that she messaged me, and she's like, I'm gonna call the cops. And or no, she didn't even message me. I had an iPad, and Summer was messaging her on Facebook Messenger, and I think she was put on a show and saying, like, I'm gonna call the cops for kidnapping charges. And I was like, get out of here. But I was at the gym, and guess what? iPads and iPhones sync up. So I got a notification that she said that, and I was like, what the hell? So I messaged her, and I was like, hey, you've never asked me to bring them back. And I was like, I'll bring them back today. And she's like, no, it's not convenient. I'm like, well, it's convenient for me right now because I don't want the cops being involved in something that's stupid. And then, like, I'm like, I don't work today, so today would be the day. And she's like, ugh. And so, against my better judgment, I took them back. They stayed for about 3 days. And on that 3rd day, my other sister gets a call from one of Jennifer's ex-boyfriends. He was a long-term boyfriend, and he calls Katie, and he's like, hey, I just stopped by to see your sister because she said she needed me to take the kids for a little bit, and it's not a good situation. And I won't go into all of the details exactly, but I am so glad that he went there that day, because there was drugs around, there was men around, and I'm really glad that Summer got the hell out of where she was. And so he used to work with my dad, and he brought the kids over to my dad's house. And they have not seen her since. So that was like late August 2019. The next day we contacted, at that point we realized, hey, she's not moving forward at all. We had kind of been chatting about the possibility of it being a permanent situation. We're like, what will we do? Like, what are our options here? And at the time, I was, 30? And I think I talked to my sister, and I was like, hey, I know that you're living with a boyfriend with 2 kids, and 4 is a lot, or 5 potentially. But I was like, I think it'd be an easier transition from 1 to 2. Like, she has 1 son and they're getting, versus 0. So then all of a sudden, having a teenager. We talked to Xavier's dad, and he had legal rights to him. So the next day we actually took Xavier down to his dad's house. And when we called him, he was in tears. He had been wanting to spend time with his son, but my sister had kept him away. And so he went to live with him, and unfortunately the kids were broken up because they had different dads. And we couldn't fight legally, nor was it right to do that from his birth father when he had done nothing wrong. He owned his own business, he had his own place, like, there was no reason. It was heartbreaking because, like, siblings growing up together, like, you want to call them, like, what is it, half brother and sister, but, like, they were raised their whole lives together, so they're brother and sister. So that sucked. We felt bad for having to separate them, but that was what we did. And Katie was overwhelmed with her life at the moment, and I'm actually really grateful that she was, because she said, I can't take on another kid. Like, she was possibly breaking up with her boyfriend, which they did shortly after. But she just had so much stress. She's like, there's no way. She's like, it wouldn't be a good place for her. And she's like, it's gonna be you. And I was like, oh, okay. And so, I mean, at that point in time, it was less about like not wanting to do it and thinking that my sister was the better option. Because I did not grow up like dreaming of what my life would be like with kids. So I had no idea of like, hey, what am I gonna do? Like, in this situation, how am I gonna hang out with them? What am I gonna teach them? I had like just literally never thought about those things, and I was like smacked with that reality.
Yeah, like in a day.
Yeah. And so again, it was never a question as to like whether or not I would. It was, am I the best option? It was never about not wanting her to be in my life. It was about me thinking that I was not good enough to be her guardian and to raise her the rest of the way. And I feel like that's something that all parents feel like. Only difference is I was electing to do it versus like, you know, when you have your own kid, you feel like that, but it's like, well, I did this, you know? And so, I mean, if parents are listening, I'm sure that you can relate to that, because there's a lot of things that happened right away that I didn't expect, like mom guilt. I was like, what? I immediately had guilt for doing anything outside of work because I wasn't home with her. And I was like, how the heck did that happen? And I was like, all right, cool. So I just changed some things around. Yeah, so that's when the custody process started. It was a rough few months. Oh my God. Contacted lawyers. Luckily, my sister had just, the sister Katie, I had just talked to her about her custody situation with her ex-husband. So she had just done a similar thing. So she helped me, but for the most part, I had to show up to the courthouse and do all the stuff myself. Luckily, I had her as a coach because it was helpful, because I don't know, have you ever been to court? Shit's hard. And I'm not a stupid person, and it's hard. Like, I can't imagine being slightly illiterate or not able to know how to, like, do any research. Like, one day I showed up and I didn't have the right forms, so I wasted all that time, money filing, and then they sent me away. They're like, oh, your form's wrong. Okay, bye. And I was like, they're like, you can go to this office, they'll help you. And I'm like, well, I know. And then there's a long line, of course. It was very stressful. And then at that point, I already, you know, she was living full time with me. So, yeah, luckily, she has been and still is such an amazing kid that, like, I can't imagine having a random teenager plopped in my lap that could have been better. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, she's a teenager, but she's also, like, awesome. Like, anyone who's met her knows how cool and nice she is. So she's really, like, been a blessing in that sense, because I was already dealing with some shit. She could have made it a lot worse, just by being more of a teenager than she was.
You said she was 13 when all this was happening? 13, yeah. Man, brand new teenager.
Yeah, so her birthday's in November. So when I got her in June, she was 13, so she turned 14 in November. And so, yeah, the custody process was very challenging. My sister was in a different place all the time. I had to serve her and Summer's father separately. So I had to get the right papers, I had to fill them out properly, and then I had to find out where and how to serve them. And so there were two different situations. So her dad, he was currently living in his car in California, and I had a way to contact him. I found him, I don't know if it was on Facebook or I got his number from someone. Anyway, I messaged him or I called him and I was like, hey, this is the situation. And I'm like, I am asking you to allow me to have custody of your child so I can give her a good life. And he's, I mean, aside from the drugs that he's chosen to use, he's actually always been like super nice, which has always been so weird to me. He agreed, did not put up a fight. He said, hey, my brakes are out. I need to get to the library. It's going to cost like $50 to get new brakes. I'm like, oh my God. Obvious lie. Sent him the $50. He did go to the library, printed off the paper, signed it, faxed it back, or scanned it back. And that was that. The only thing he wanted from me other than $50, he wanted to have a phone conversation with Summer, which I asked her before if she was okay with. She said yes. And we were sitting in the parking lot in between my gym and the Starbucks in the car, and I was like, put it on speaker, like just to make sure. And he was very nice to her. He was very sweet. And he was like, hey, like I want you to, you know, grow up and be the best version of yourself and like, you know, have a good life. Do you want me to sign the paper? And she said yes. And so that was pretty easy compared to what I had to do with my sister. So I heard from another ex that she was living in a drug dealer's house at the time. And so you can, when you serve someone for court, you can pay somebody. They don't have to be an official person, but you can pay someone to, like, a job, like, hey, serve this person.
You can serve.
Yeah, because I can't serve her. So I had to find someone who was willing to go into a drug house because they weren't going to give me the address for any of my friends to do it. So, because I know plenty of my like veteran buddies, they would have done it for free. And so the same ex as before, he's like, I'll do it. And I did pay him as well to be the server. And he told me that when he went in there, handed him the papers, she was pissed. But he said that he also saw her with a needle in her arm. And so I don't even know. I tell you, even with that information, when I went to court to finalize it, I was like terrified that she was going to show up or that her dad would show up. It seems silly now because like they're obviously not, I don't know. I just, you know, like sometimes you think that people are like so mad or so crazy that they'll like pull themselves together for like one quick moment and be cool, and then I was worried. I was like sweating it because the judge was brutal. Remember, she already turned me away once, and when I went back to see her, she did not like the way that she was served. And I was like, it was done legally. I asked my lawyer friend. I was like, because I had the guy sign the affidavit or whatever saying that he had served her. And I was like, the only possibility is that he's lying, but I cannot control that, and I don't think he's lying. And I was like, listen, if you don't accept this serving, that means that someone else has to go into this unsafe situation. It's either that or I can do the old newspaper thing, because that still exists. You can like post about it, but you have to wait so long for them to see it. So she like, God, I mean, I was like so nervous. My other sister was there with me that day. She did not want to prove it, but she did. And so glad that she did, because from that day it was done. So that was like right around Thanksgiving. So it was from like, I started it in like September, and like it was a few months of just stress and talking to lawyers and you know, people involved were like angrily messaging me, you know, because I don't know, have you had much interaction with drug people?
Yeah.
So you know how like they'll be fine and then they'll get high and then they'll remember to text you or something and then they'll go on like this rant. I mean, man, my sister said some stuff to me that was just like...
What sex is it? That's not really that.
It's not. I know that. I know that. And the thing is after all this stuff happened, I don't have, like, you know, I even talk, Summer and I talk about it all the time. I'm like, hey, your sister, your mom, my sister, has made some decisions, and she's not really her. And I'm like, I still love her. I personally cannot help her. I already am helping her by helping you. Like, I can't do more. I am my own person. I have to live my life. But yeah, there's no ill will because I understand. And it sucks. I don't know if I'll ever see her again. Sometimes you know, people ask me where she is. I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know if she's alive. Like, and I won't know if she dies. I won't know. Like, somebody might tell me when they find out. So it's a really shitty feeling. And I can't imagine what it would feel like to be a teenager and have that be your mom. Which is why I give so much props to Summer, because after having been through everything she's gone through and to still be such a positive, like, kind person, you know, I think that's how it goes. I think that, like, the people who have gone through the most shit tend to have, like, the best hearts.
That's because they know what it's like to be so low, and they wouldn't want anybody to feel like that.
Yeah.
I think.
No, you're totally right. So, yeah, that was 2019. To put it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And then, you know, going from there, got her, cause she was already, she started school with me, and she was in 8th grade. And I think 8th grade was the year that she only did half, because that was like the next year, 2020.
Yeah.
So that started. But yeah, so that was just a little sprinkle of fun. We're already trying to learn each other. But you know what was cool? There was like a moment in time where I like felt a switch. I could tell I was no longer her aunt. You know, and like I said, she doesn't call me mom. Like, I am her aunt, but I transitioned from that role of being like fun, cool aunt
to guardian.
Yeah.
And I could tell by the way she was speaking to me and the way that she like responded to me and listened to me. I was no longer, nothing I said was cool. The anger came easy. She also had, I mean, poor girl, she had a mom growing up that was pretty laid back. Then she goes to live with a Marine.
Yeah. I was about to be like, yes, very laid back, Anna.
I'm so laid back. I'm cash. And she's brought that up before too, and you know, kind of asked me for patience and understanding, and I'm like, no, you're totally right. And you know, we've both had many instances where we're like meeting in the middle and just learning each other.
Yeah.
And figuring it out. It has gone a lot better. Man, I used to freak out about stuff. And now I'm just like, yeah, alive.
Yeah.
Like, cool. Good job.
Man, becoming a parent overnight, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is stuff that you like didn't expect that did happen, and stuff that you expected to happen that didn't? Do you have any instances of either of those?
I think that I didn't expect her to influence who I was so much. Like, she's a big factor on who I've been becoming.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell you a fun little story. So I never traditionally like wanted to get married, have a baby. Like, that was just never like my story that I wanted for myself particularly. And I went to, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to a concert. It was Warrant and I want to say Cheap Trick. Those don't sound right together. I don't know. No, I think it was Warrant Skid Row. That's what it was.
Oh yeah, that one sounds
Warrant
good.
Skid Row. It was my first concert. It was an outdoor concert outside of the military. And I always squished my way up to the front, or at least I used to when I was like 22. So I squished my way up to the front, like there's a gate, right? And you're right next to the stage. And the Skid Row was on, and the guitarist was like, yeah, I'm throwing out his picks. And he throws one out, and it lands behind the bouncer on the other side of the gate. And so I look him in the eye and like, I'm fresh out of the Marine Corps. I look at him and I'm like, grab that pick. And he's like, oh, yes ma'am. And we're in Wisconsin at this time. And I take it. And now previously, I had just witnessed this small family. It was like a young mom, a teenage girl, like a younger brother, and then the mom's, I'm guessing, boyfriend. It didn't look like they were married. And the girl looked super uncomfortable. Her name was Mackenzie. I still remember her name. So they were like, you know the devil horns, how you like at a concert, you're like, yeah. They were trying to get her to do it and to like dance and have fun, and she did not want to. I'm the same way. Like, if someone tries to make me dance or move my body and I don't want to, I will be like a statue. Like, don't fucking do that. So I was just like, don't worry, you'll do it if and when you want to do it, because they were right next to me. And so when I got the pick, I was like, woo, and I looked over and she was like, oh, cool, like right at me, and I was like, damn it, because I knew in that moment that I was gonna give it to her. Because I asked her, I was like, is this your first concert? And she said, yeah. So I gave her the pick and I said, don't give that to your family. You keep that. And the guitarist threw out another one 10 minutes later. And this girl dives into like all the feet, and I'm like, don't get squished.
Oh my gosh.
And she picks it up and she looks right at me and she hands it to me. So we both give each other a pick. And that was the only day, like up until having Summer in my life, where I was like, you know what, it might be cool to have like a mini version of me, like a cool girl to like raise, to just, you know, I was like, that would be cool. And so I had that moment.
Yeah.
So when Summer comes to me at the same age about as that girl, I was just like, oh, this is a funny trick you're playing there, God.
Yeah.
Universe, what you doing?
Yeah.
It's definitely meant to happen.
That's really cool.
All of the things lined up exactly how they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because I came back to Washington. My sister Katie wasn't and couldn't take her. Like, it was just like this, you know, like, you know how you can look behind you and connect the dots, but you can't connect them moving forward.
People call that kismet.
I agree. Yeah, because a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, I might not have been pushed to do the things I'm doing now as much without her.
Yeah.
Because now it's like she's kind of like given me more purpose to my life, you know?
It's funny that you say you want to raise like a little you, because you haven't, you know, had Summer her whole life, but she is a miniature you. Like, things you do, I mean, like, it's like surround sound. Like, you can be in another room and like it's like revolving. Like, she is a miniature you.
You know what's funny is my great aunt, she used to call Summer, when she was very little, she used to call her Anna, because when we were both young, we very much looked alike. Just little blonde things, because I was blonde as a kid. But yeah, it's funny, because you know how you say that I don't want to end up like my mom or something, like, and we all get to be like a certain age and we're like, oh crap,
I'm my mom.
I'm doing weird things that my mom did, and I don't even know why I'm doing it or how I got there. Well, I don't know if we like hit fast forward because it's like a newer relationship, but things are coming to fruition for her. She's like,
I think there's plenty of worse people she could be like.
Oh yeah. No, I don't think hopefully I'm not passing on any of my real bad traits. Except for the anti-huggingness. We did hug yesterday.
There you go.
It was a good hug. And then, by the way, Michaela reminded me that you and I have a hug date next week.
How has your hugging been going through February?
It has not. It's been very, very poor.
I have been hugging people.
For me?
For you. Well, I was like, I was thinking, it's February, it's a month of love, I'm gonna hug people. And like, some people are just not ready for it. And you know, and I'm like, help, bring it in, you know, and I'm like, when did I become this person? We finished my CrossFit L1, and my instructors, who I had been fist bumping the whole weekend, because that's what you do in sports settings. I was like, nah. And I like hugged them before they had a choice.
Yeah.
So, it's good.
Yeah, I think, you know, so the dancing thing, it's February. Dancing was my January thing. I'm still doing it. I think that these things are going to be multiple month experiences for the most part.
I think so too.
I think it's going to take a little longer. That one's a lot harder to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially like I just finished the 5 Love Languages. I read it again.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get into a situation where I'm in a relationship with someone who their primary love language is physical touch,
Mm-hmm.
now granted, I am different with a partner,
Of course.
but it's still not natural to me to like, even just like the small, like the shoulder touches and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like I didn't even actually touch you just now. I just gestured to you. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's awkward. It's not natural for me.
Yeah.
So it's something that I want to practice and want to get good at.
Mine changed a lot when I started doing body work a lot, because I was never like, I never wanted to hold hands, I never wanted to hug, I never wanted to like touch people. Like I had like a close bubble. Like if people could be near me, but just touching was like just not done in my family. Well, actually, I was the only one, because my family hugs and kisses a lot on each other, and I'm like, just, you know,
You're like,
I'm like, and they know that, they never forced me to, you know, like they weren't like, you know, kiss your grandfather before you go to sleep or something, you know, like stuff like that. It was never forced or anything, but I was just like not gonna do it. But then I started with body work a lot, and like I'm touching people all day, and now I find myself wanting that connection, because like I feel like there's a shared energy when you're touching people, especially when you're in like a bodywork type setting. Like a lot of people, like if you're on a table getting massage or a stretch or like something of bodywork, like clients will like just start telling me things, you know, like it's a very intimate type release, you know, and I have noticed that like I'm inappropriately touching people. Well, not like that. I'll just see my friends or whatever, and like I'll be like, damn, like your trap's up or whatever, and I'll just start like I'll start touching people, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, you did not ask for that. And they're like, thank you, it feels better now. And I was like, I still shouldn't have done that, but
start asking for permission.
Yes. And so it was an active switch when that happened for me. But now it's like, it's like I match energies. Like if you come in for a big hug, I'm gonna match you for a big hug, you know. But if you're like fist bump, then
maybe I've had the opposite situation, because I think it got worse when I worked in healthcare because all those people are nasty.
Yeah.
Got like gross feet. People that haven't showered, people that like are literally laying in their own piss and shit.
Yeah.
It's not fun. But I will say that like none of it bothered me. Hell, I used to do, there are people who are like glove religious, and then some of us, we just hand sanitizered, and then we would just go. And I was just I was a no glover. Unless it was like some type of fluid or bug. I would then definitely, but otherwise it didn't bother me. So like, I don't know, I've come a long way.
Yeah.
I don't like dead fish people anymore.
I have seen that in action, where you're just like, a lot of people hug you.
Yeah, I give active hugs now.
Yeah.
And anyway, it'll be a work in progress.
Yeah, I like that.
I've tried experimenting more specifically with Summer, because I don't want her to be like me in that way. And so, you know, I think when you are a parent, you think about yourself and all the ways that your kids can model after you, because that's something that you don't think about when you don't have kids, is you just do whatever the fuck you want to do. But then as all of a sudden, it's like kids pay more attention to what you do than what you say. And so, you know, I'm not necessarily worried about anything that she's doing right now. Like, it doesn't really bother me, because she's seen my lifestyle for this many years and will continue to see it. And I think that the good things will shine through when she gets to that age, you know?
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's like a hard mirror to look in when you're not ready. Or overnight. You're like, oh man.
What's the biggest thing you think you've learned since becoming a parent?
Patience. Was never a patient person. Like, legit. I had a lot of anger. I think patience and communication, because she's for the most part, she's a really good communicator. I mean, she's very new still at it, in the degree of life, but so good because she can just articulate what she's thinking when she's out of the emotional state, right? And she's teaching me how to be better at that. And you know, very good at shining the mirror back and explaining why she did what she did and why, like, and then I, you know, so I listen and explain better and in a different approach. Like, we are so much better at talking to each other than we were when we first started living together. It's wild.
Yeah.
So.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share?
No, I mean, I guess I just, thanks for listening. I know nobody asked for this, but I just really felt like it was necessary because I will probably still call her my kid, and I'm not necessarily going to say out loud, like, just be like, nope, she's just my niece. Like, she is my kid. And in, what month is it? February? So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Yes, I had to count hands. 9 months. I'm going to be going to court if she'll allow me, and I will be legally adopting her as my then daughter, which she doesn't have to change what she calls me or vice versa, but I just want that legal belonging. So if she'll let me, because she's going to be 18, if she wants me to, I want to do that. I want her to be like with me forever and know that she always has a place, like even when she's, you know, getting kicked out of my house, go live your life.
Flap your wings a little bit.
Yeah, out of the nest. Go. Bye.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. That was very vulnerable and very cool to hear a different. Like, I've heard that story, most of it before, but like, you're just very open and it was pretty.
Yeah, of course.
Well, thank you guys as always for listening and investing in yourself today. And thank you for these last 6 months. It has been a really, really good time learning how to do this and learning more about Anna and learning more about myself through this process. We believe in you and can't wait to see you guys win.
Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify every Monday morning at 6 a.m. so you can start your week with your foot on the gas. Now go do the work.